Yeah, today we are going to speak about some necessary steps that we have to take in place in order to face some incidents occurring in cybersecurity. So this is a questionnaire based. This is a questionnaire that we have followed uh, to identify those necessary actions. So there are several scenarios with some questionnaire. So let's move on. As the first scenario, you can see it's about BOP. So in the first part, they mention as alarming amounts of cold fraud are being reported by corporations in your jurisdictions. This is only happening in corporation that are virtual switching solutions. So as for the first part, these are the questions that they have raised. So Malit will answer the first question. Yes, Malit.
Yes, Rishan. According to the first scenario, the first question is what mechanisms are there for organization to report these incidents? Are there metrics kept for these incidents? According to that question, first answer is to identify such incidents and manage the Oracle communication fraud monitor will be a great tool. This tool will be help to identify outgoing fraud calls and backlist them, keep log of their patterns. First one is monitoring. All subscribers' IP addresses will be monitored and produce report that can be visually displayed. The next one is behavioral analysis. System can learn the behavioral patterns of all users with the time. Next one is score assignment. That means score are produced provided for all calls. The next one is matrix. These tools have a library of metrics to measure the basic attributes of subscriber behaviors. For example, minutes spoken to time of day, concurrent calls, unusual calls, destinations, and unusual score IP addresses. The next one is values. The values are the result of the weighting attributed to each tool. Values are provided for the current moment and as an average for every hour. Next one is rules. The rules are used to determine what calls behavior is considered fraudulent and at what severity. According to the rating system, a rule can make use of any number of metrics. The next one is score. The score is accumulation of the values and used to determine whether or not a user has surprised the threshold. The last one is threshold. Surprising a defined threshold case and allowed to be raised. The threshold can either be static values or be dependent on key performance indicator. The most powerful threshold are fully automatic and depend on deviation from the previous behavioral patterns. Yes, Diljan.
Yeah, Malik described the first question and the answer. So let's move on to the second question. As we can see, who would do the initial analysis in this situation? As you can also see, the VOP is based on networking. So network administrator of the organization is the person who should monitor and analyze the situation and come up with necessary solutions for the incident and make awareness of to the employees how to handle such situation in the future. So Malit, third question.
Yes, Nishant. The question number three is what is the role for the corporation? For that answer is the organization have to come up with the better solutions for the situation with the help of network admins and audit team and help the system work without any problems. And also corporation have to consider the updating the system by applying mitigation method, and it is better to report the incident to the ISP and ask for the advice and countermeasures. Dishan?
Yeah, in fourth question, what are the different roles for law enforcement, search and regulators? There can be some critical roles as well as some good follow-ups for the roles. Roles vary from according to the jurisdiction with respect to law and search role. Includes incident response, coordination, analysis, and issuing of advisories. If able to track back to the attacker, it would be able to identify them and take legal action, and most probably advise them not to involve in such incident in future. So it just covers the first part of the VOPI scenario. So let's move on to the second part two. In second part, indications are that compromised system have been well configured, and analysis has now shown that this incident is due to exploitation of a previously unknown vulnerability in widely used virtual PBX. Investigation activity identifies an online forum from a person retailing an exploit for this vulnerability. A number of different actors are known to be purchasing the weaponized exploit to perpetuate mass code fraud. So, first question, Marit.
Yes, Rishan. First question is, assume the PBX vendor is based in your jurisdiction. How would you work with them with the regards to the exploit? So answer it for that question is take a necessary legal action and legal actions against the vendor. Rishan?
Yeah, in second question, assume the online forum was hosted in your jurisdiction. What action would be taken? What evidence needs to be collected under your legislation? So, the information about traffic data that needed to track back to the source of communication, these data should be preserved because they are ephemeral and should be used these data as a starting point to identify a suspect. Yes, Mali.
Yes, Rishan. Third question is assume the purchase of the exploit were located in a jurisdiction. What action would you be taken? According to that, this case that typically identifies related crime. This act is directly related to the sale of identity related information. 359 position is the control a person identity intentionally exercises towards identity related information. User cover as a submitting information for online purchase. In terms of mental element, the provision requires that an offender acted intentionally with the regards to all objective elements and had special intention to undertake the activity to commit, aid or abet any or unlawful activity that goes beyond the transfer, possession or use of identity-related information. Dishan?
Yeah, fourth question. Assuming the developer of the exploit was in your jurisdictions, what legal options are available to you? So, file a lawsuit against the particular person who developed the exploit and sue him for the necessary compensations for the losses that caused because of that incident. So, fifth question. Yes, Mali.
Yes, Dishan. Question number 5 is what legislation codes and practices could you enact to the take for the investigation? So that answer is use relevant laws related to computer misuse, electronic signatures, data protection, intellectual property, liability, and dispute resolution in your country. Example: Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, Electrical Communication Privacy Act, and Identity Theft Enforcement and Restitution Act of 2008. Yes, teacher.
Yeah. In sixth question, how would you work with the vendor to resolve the situation? So when the situation occur like this, it is wise to collaborate with the vendor to resolve it because they design the technical measures required to prevent, deter and recovery. Vendor will provide solution or sources such like providing information on how vulnerabilities affect their systems and software, sharing experience on incident response activities, offering insights into capacity to design, administer, and maintain source products. Yes, Marit, seven question.
Yes, Dishan. Question number 7 is what steps would you take to the warm other users of that brand of PBX, both domestically and internationally? So the answer is for that question is inform about the brand of PBX companies that we work with, and also tell them to warn the other companies they work with, inform the incident into the business related media and the social media locally and internationally. Dishan?
Yeah, Malik, to describe the seventh question, no?
Yeah, yes, Dishan.
So as we can say in eighth question, what information would be required to purchase on investigation into the developer and the seller of the exploit? Are there any restriction on disclosing information to relevant parties? So most of the time details are stored in the incident managing database, what are done by the attacker. To pursue the investigation to the incident, need some solid information like allegation details, what happened, where, when, and information about the subject, name, email, phone number, purpose of the exploit, and the evidence collected during the incident, internet traffic logs, emails, likewise. So the relevant information will be disclosed only to the relevant parties where your business unit or business process or owner can demonstrate that purpose of the disclose is directly related to the original purpose, and these information will not be disclosed to the public also. There are restrictions that the relevant parties cannot disclose them to the public. Otherwise, they will have to face law for disclosing confidential information. Yes, Malik. Ninth question.
Yes, Dishan. The ninth question is what factors influence the sharing information and what time in or sharing information on a vulnerability. So the solution for that question is low entity barriers and the low setup was flexible. Network operator has control over its own system, does not require high IT maturity. Uh, the other one is data must be timely and specific. Uh, a survey of ISAC in the US found that participation had concern over the timeliness and the specificity of information shared by the government. It was often not specific enough to the actionable or participation and alert information at the same time or after news coverage. Yes, Risha.
In 10th question, how do you work with industry to ensure that they have information when a patch becomes available? So before applying a patch, three things to be considered. The patch documentation should be reviewed by the peers for security reasons, and also by reviewing can mitigate the risk. This document will be access relevancy of the update that will resolve current issues. New patch won't cause anything to compromise to existing systems. Potential issues will arise from the sequencing of the update, as specific instruction may state or recommend to sequence events or updates to occur before the service pack security patch is applied. Um, Only when it addresses the or fixes an issue being experienced by the customer, it should be considered and evaluated before installing. So testing plan to install, consistency across the domain controllers. Uh, that means inconsistent update levels across the DCS can lead to DC to DC synchronization and replication related problems. Member servers should update with the same patch as the domain controller. And also, next point is have a working backup and schedule production downtime. That means server outgaze should be scheduled, and complete set of backup tapes and emergency repair disks should be available in case of restoration is required. Next point is always have a backup plan. That means this plan will be allow the business to return to the original state, and that means business continuity. Like so, target not next point is target non-critical servers first. It describes if all the tests in the lab environment are successful, start developing on non-critical servers first. if possible, and then move to the primary service. So this describes the part 2 in first scenario. So let's move on to the second scenario. SCADA vulnerability is the scenario that we have raised. So in part 1, attacker can mention a group of vulnerability researchers have released a large number of high consequence, easy to exploit control systems product vulnerabilities. Working exploit for these vulnerabilities have been packed in an easy to use form. These control system products are used extensively in jurisdictions and critical infrastructure. So, first question, Walid.
Yes, Ishan. According to that scenario, the first question is the release of this vulnerability of offense. The vulnerability is used as an offense being committed by the user and or a creator. The answer for that question is release of this vulnerability is not because convention, but when later someone used this vulnerability to do some offensive things with bad inventors like stealing information and do harmful things to the other people considered as an offense. So the vendor should come up with a better solution for vulnerability or stop the users from using the product. Tisha?
Yeah, in second question, when would this be pursued? As the vulnerability is related to critical infrastructure systems, are there different rules to engage in? Actually, there are no specific rules for this kind of thing, and it is important that software vendors provide timely patch releases for the vulnerabilities. So the important fact is in here how quickly the software vendors release patch for vulnerabilities and how uh, disclosure affect patch release time. Certain tells that disclosure accelerate patch release. The probability of releasing the patch rises by nearly 2.5 times because of disclosure. Open source vendors release patches more quickly than closed source vendors. Vendors are more responsive to more severe vulnerabilities. We also find that vendors respond more slowly to vulnerabilities not disclosed by CERT. Just Malik.
Yes, Tisha. The next question is would you notify at this stage domestically and internationally? Answers for that is third, law enforcement, developers of the system, users of products. Next question is Tisha.
Yeah, in fourth question, would you be able to identify who uses this product in your jurisdiction? If so, how? So, keeping the database regarding known other parties and there are details about products, equipments, vendors. So that's how we should use this one. So this is the first part of the second scenario. So let's move on to the second part. In second part, you have contacted the vendor, and the vendor has informed that you have that informed you that they no longer support the product. It is too complex and uneconomical to fix as it is an end of life product. The vendor is in your jurisdictions. So first question, yes, ma'am.
According to that scenario, first question is what actions would you take? According to that, migrate the system to new product and especially ask the vendors to develop a temporary solution until they move to the new system using the third-party patches. Yes, Richard?
Yeah, in the second question, would your stakeholders utilize third-party patches? It is possible to use third-party patches if they needed. Also, can be used as a temporary solution until they come up with a better solution. But stakeholders do not trust third parties. They can always hire a team of developers to patch the system, and it will be more trustworthy and secure. But it will cost somewhat. So that question, well,
The next question is what advice would you provide your stakeholders that it is better to move on the latest SCADA system as soon as possible since vendors is fulfilling support for their latest version. Yes, Nisha?
so in the part 3 in scenario 2, through the protracted negotiation, the vendor has now finally agreed to release the patch. There is also an impact on cross-border stakeholders. For example, a power station across the border that supplies power to your jurisdictions. So, first question is valid.
Yes, Richard. First question is, do you have mechanism in place to ensure cross-border stakeholders use the right? So the answer is no legal way to ensure, and it totally depends on the trustworthiness of the cross-border stakeholders. Richard?
Yeah, in the second question, what policy frameworks are in place to ensure the patch is applied to a jurisdiction and in other jurisdiction you are depend upon? So there are no any particular frameworks that you have found in for this one. So yes, Malik, that will end the second scenario. So let's move on to the third scenario. The third scenario is based on the DDoS. In part one, an issue motivated group is publicly threatening to target a large number of key internet infrastructure systems. First question, yes, Malik.
Nothing that group is speaking publicly. Who has privacy in your investigation on the trade in the media studies? Would you publicly acknowledge the threat? Coordinate the internationally. So the answer is for that question is yes. Since the group is publicly threatening, it is better to acknowledge it publicly and take the steps to harden the security measures to stop the achieve the target of the attack in the group. The second question is Dilshan.
Yeah, in second question, they have asked what system do you have in your jurisdiction that are critically dependent on the internet? Are there restriction on the types of the systems that can be connected to the internet? So the system that we have can be considered as routing equipment, transmission lines, DNS systems, email, web hosting, storage systems, database servers likewise. Yes, Malik, third question.
Dilshan. The third question is as a table group, select the critical system that is the target of this threat. The answer is for that question is web servers and database servers. It's the fourth question.
Does the identified critical system have measures in place already? How do you assess the level of preparedness? What additional preparedness would you advise them to make? So to mitigate some DDoS attacks, we can use following solution necessary steps likewise bandwidth obfuscation. This this describes as you grow larger, your bandwidth cost drop. Generally, large organization will lease a significantly large capacity than they need to account for growth and DDoS attack. If an attacker is unable to master enough to traffic to overwhelm this, the volume attacker is generally ineffective. So connection limiting means limit the number of new connection requests. This can be done by preferring to existing connection and limiting new requests. Another point is aggressive again. That means removing connection from the tables and send TCP RST packets to the server and firewall. Whitelist and blacklist. This means in the network there are some IP address that we want to allow and that we don't. And also we can consider dynamic filtering. That means identifying undisciplined behavior and punishing that behavior by creating a short span filtering rule and removing it after the time span. Often configure both operating system and application to be more resilient to application layer DDoS attacks. So those are the necessary steps that we can take to mitigate the DDoS attack. Yes, Malik, fifth question.
Question is what capabilities of the government or such resources would you be willing to offer to the assist the critical system? The answer is for that question is will provide contribution with the consultants and the technicians to the assist after the attack. Law enforcement will be helpful investigation this incident. For that, it will be a good idea to have an expert in network traffic analysis to monitor the traffic of the organization and provide him with better and premium tools to analyze the daily traffic and detect ongoing attacks. As per tool, it is better to have automatic patterns analyzing a tool it will help the process. Yes, Sirisha?
Yeah, let's go move to the part two. In this section, the part two is described the threat has now been realized and the critical system that your table selected has been attacked. So first question, Malik.
Sirisha, the first question is what capacity do you have to detect that an attack has occurred? Do you have another reporting? Why not? So answer for that is to detect an attack first, the effect that attack has to reach to some level that the organization can handle without a considerable effect and can have mandatory reporting for the later use in case of this kind of similar situation occurs. Is this
Yeah, in the second question, they have asked, is this considered as a criminal act? Yes, it's you can consider it as a criminal as it is, as it giving some threat to the sensitive information of an organization that will affect to the data confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. So yes, Malik, third question.
Yeah, third question is what is your ability to detect attack activation and the command and the control infrastructure? So answer for that question is attack activation can be identified by the using traffic monitoring tools and the command and controls can be done using the techniques like captchas. So next question is Disha.
Yeah, in fourth question, command and control is identified as being hosted within your jurisdictions. What actions would you take? Who would take these actions? So the action can be taken via CERT and law enforcement, and the legal actions can be taken according to the law in the particular area. Yes, man. Fifth question.
Yeah, the first question is command and control is identified as being hosted outside of your jurisdiction. And what action would you take? Who take this action? So for answer is the first question is the action has to be taken by authorized authorities of the command and control because the protection mechanism have to be managed by them while the process must be taken the action regarding the matter. Yes, Disha?
Yeah, in sixth question, technical response. What is the difference between the CERT response and the law enforcement response? What are the challenges? How could the policy framework integrate the differences? What approaches could be used to create a better integration in these areas? So organization and the threat responses team can take actions regarding to the security measures and the public awareness about the incident, and the law enforcement have to access the legal side of the incident and provide necessary advices and actions. So basically law enforcement find that the deal with the person who are behind the threatening and take legal actions. Meanwhile the set team harden the systems and make the system clear. So Malik, seventh question. Start. Yeah.
Yes, Ishan, that is the end of our video. Thank you.
Okay.